Hello everyone, I am just signing on here, and again, not sure exactly why I'm having trouble with this whole zooming in thing. So I have tried to do research this whole, week to figure out how I could do this a little bit better for you, but this is where we got. So we're just gonna again roll with it, and I will try to figure it out again. If anybody is using Facebook for Lives and knows how to zoom on your mobile, let me know. I have never had a problem before. So anyways, it doesn't matter. It's neither here nor there. We are just going to get started and roll with it. So I'm going to just actually load up on my computer here too, so I can see if you guys are leaving any comments and whatnot. So 1 second here. Okay, all right, welcome. Today I'm just going to move you up a little bit here. We are going to talk about the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, but specifically embossing folders. So I have this beautiful folder here called Painted Trees. It's a 3D embossing folder, which just means that has a little bit more definition or depth in the embossing, and it's also generally a little bit larger, so you get quite a nice detail from these 3D embossing folders. This one here, like I said, it's called the Painted Tree 3D embossing folder, and it is out of our holiday mini catalog. So if you don't have one of these, let me know and I can hook you up for sure. And you'll find it here on page 25. It's part of this Season of Elegance suite. So there's a couple stamp sets that coordinate this beautiful paper that should be arriving at my house tomorrow. And this is your embossing folder. So you can see here in the pictures, potentially, you can see these gorgeous trees. And so today I'm going to show you a couple of ideas how you can make some beautiful Christmas cards with just the embossing folder and a few fun techniques. So here's some card ideas that they've put for this suite, and they're just really, really pretty and really cute. This one will be kind of like one that we're going to work on today and sort of the card that inspired our techniques tonight. All right. Okay, so let's get started. Welcome to everyone who's joining me tonight. We had a little bit of a vote today on which card we wanted to do here together. One of them was this one here, and this one we are going to do together. This was the clear winner of the card people wanted to see. It's a beautiful traditional card, more traditional colors, and I've actually been really drawn to this new color that just came out this year called Basic Beige. So it is a light, I don't know, it's not vanilla. It's not, your crumb cake kind of rustic color. It's honestly just a nice soft beige. And it looks fantastic when partnered with gold. So it's a really nice festive color, actually, if you want to do something different than the standard white. So this is the card we're going to do. And then I am going to show you a couple other ideas for some cards using a couple of other techniques. But let's get started on this card today. All right, so I'm going to just set this aside for a moment, and I'm going to bring over my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I need to move some things out of the way here. So make a little bit of space for this big beast of a machine, and hopefully it's not too big for the camera here. So the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, it looks like this. This is the large one. And it is the one that you need if you're going to be doing embossing and using especially the 3D embossing folders, because you need the width of this machine. We do have a mini, which works good for a lot of our die sets, but is really not fantastic if you want to be doing a lot of embossing. All right, so it comes with a number of different plates, and they're all numbered here. And then it'll give you instructions on which plates you need for which type of crafting. So we are going to do embossing. It says use with 3D embossing folders. So we're going to use this one today. We need our number 1 plate. And on top of that, you can see we're just going to put our embossing folder when we get to that point. And then we also need on top, we're going to put this number 4 plate. So all of these extra plates are used for die cutting, and we're going to just set those aside tonight. We don't need to use those. All of these tools come with your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. You don't need to buy them separately. So once you have this, you have it and you're ready to go. Fantastic tool. I purchased this when I first, I guess, kind of got back into Stampin' Up! About 4 years ago now. Is my anniversary was in September, and it's still going strong. It doesn't have any glitches. I have replaced the cutting plates a couple times, but it depends on how much die cutting you're doing, and you can just buy replacement plates for, I think it's $15 or something. Probably once a year you might need to. Okay, so let's talk about our embossing folder. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to take our embossing folder, and I am just going to use this piece of paper as kind of an idea because I've already embossed this. So you just put this in here, and you can see the top is the one that has the Stampin' Up! Logo on it, and there's a line there that helps you to kind of line up your paper. And again, if depending on what image you want, you can move your paper around. So if I wanted to have it more over here, I would just kind of move it. You can put it where you want, but this fits like lengthwise from here to here. It'll fit kind of a standard card front. So same with this way. Okay, so we've got our paper in there. We're going to set it into our embossing folder. We're going to put our number 4 plate on top. And then this might shake a little bit. But then you just turn this handle on the side. You just turn it and it feeds through. Now I find the embossing folders, because they're a little bit like of a tight feed. And I'm sorry if I'm shaking you. It makes a little bit of a snap at the end. I'm going slow, trying not to shake you too much. Well, it didn't actually make too loud of a bang, but sometimes it makes a little bit of a bang, and it's kind of startling sometimes. So I wanted to give you a heads up. And then what you come out with when you open up your embossing folder is just this beautiful textured die imprint on here, or tree imprint. So I have a little bit of blue on here just because I use this for a different technique that I am going to show you here in a little bit. And I didn't wash it off. I just gave it a little wipe. So that's what the blue's on there for. But this is what you're going to end up with. So that is our starting point for the card tonight. We just ran through a piece of a card front. And this measures 4 by 5 1/4. So it's just a standard kind of layer for our card front. And it's a 1/4 inch smaller on each side than our basic card base. So this is our card base, Cherry Cobbler. We're going to just fold that in half. And like I said, it measures 5 1/2, the sheet of paper 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. So it's half of a sheet of standard cardstock or paper size cardstock. And let's set this aside just for a minute. So I'm going to show you the technique on this. This is super, super simple. And you could do this with any of our embossing folders, and it would just look fabulous. So, but this is really fun because you can use this embossing folder and not have all of the stamps from the sets if you don't want to. I know we can't purchase everything in the catalog, whether we want to or not, but the embossing folders are quite economical. And then we're just going to use either a brush, a blending brush, or these are called sponge daubers. And these actually come in a package of 5. And I do the exact same thing with these that I do with my blending brushes. I usually keep one for sort of one family of colors. So I have one brush for kind of my greens. Same with my Stampin', my daubers. I just have one for each different color. So we have 2 greens today. And if a cat comes, I'm sorry, she is currently climbing up the back of my chair. So I'm going to start with Old Olive. This is the lighter of the 2. And I actually think I'm going to use a sponge dauber today. It just gives me a little bit more control. The mini blending brushes would actually probably work better just because it allows you to kind of control more where you're putting in the color. But I've absolutely used these 2. So I've got my little sponge dauber here on my finger, and I'm going to just kind of dab it on here. Now you want to make sure that you're kind of rubbing it like this. And the reason for that is otherwise you're going to end up with like, you know, just a dot like that. So you want to kind of just gently rub like so. And so I'm going to go like that. I'm just going to rub it off a tiny bit. And we're just going to rub it on here. And it's going to just kind of grab in different amounts of color in different places. So some places are darker and some places are lighter, and it's giving us that definition of the embossing folder. So it's super easy just to add this color. Now it is a little like more abstract if you're very picky and you don't really love this kind of abstract green kind of look on there, or cloudy look. We will look at a couple other techniques as well, but you'll see how this all comes together here in a minute. So again, I'm just rubbing this on here up to the top, all the way down here to the bottom. Now I'm going a little bit more color at the bottom here, and you just kind of layer on as much as you want. So if you want just a little tiny bit of color, you could stop right there and be done, or even less, and you could choose whichever colors you want. I'm going to go in now with a darker green, Mossy Meadow, and I'm going to just kind of add this to a few places strategically to sort of give me that shadow look a little bit and add a little bit more depth to the card. So we already can see here that we've got multiple shades of that old olive on there that creates a really nice, I guess, balance on our card, and it helps us to see the definition of that embossing folder. So we're going to dab on here again. I'm just going to kind of rub it a tiny bit, and then I'm just going to kind of add a little bit of this dark color. I'm going to really lightly just kind of go in here, and I'm going to try to stick to one side of my tree so that maybe it looks like the sun is coming from one direction. Dutchie, are you in the camera? Dutchie, you want to say hi? Duchess is going to come over here and attack my finger in a minute. She's like, what are you doing with all that swirling over there? And then I'm adding a little bit more here at the bottom where there might be some more shadows from the tree. Now the bottom doesn't matter quite as much because we are going to put a ribbon here. But I just liked it with, it kind of looked like there was a lot of brush at the bottom, and I kind of like that look. So you're just going to add as much as you want or as little as you want until you've got kind of the green layers that you like in there. Okay, and I'm just going to put a little bit more green on that side. And ta-da, we have color. So there's one way that you can use your embossing folder. Now let's finish up this card, since this is a card that we wanted to make together today. I am going to pull out a Stampin' Blend. You do not have to do this part. For me, I just felt like I wanted to kind of fill in the background a little bit, and a great way to do that is by splattering. You can use a Stampin' Blend, which is an alcohol-based marker, or you can use a regular marker, which is water-based. So it's really up to you. Both sides have a brush tip and a bullet tip. You're going to use the brush end of whichever marker you choose, and you're going to just put it into your cap and just splatter it like that. So you just kind of pull down, and I got quite a bit of splatter on there, but that's okay. And you just kind of put, again, as much or as little as you like on there, or none if you don't want to. Okay, so we have this layer done. We are honestly almost done our card. We need to cut out a label for our sentiment. And actually, I think I used that to run through the embossing folder. So let's just pull out another piece of paper. I've got a scrap piece of white here, and I am going to use the Cheerful Daisy dies, and you could really use any one you want. I'm going to use this one just because I like the size of this one. It fit nicely with the sentiment that I had, and it was kind of, I thought, sort of more of a traditional shape with the little scallops on it. But you can use whatever you have on hand. All right, so we are going to run it. You could stamp this before or after. It's really up to you. Today I'm going to stamp it after. So we're going to bring back in our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And I'm going to change out the plates now. And we are going to use the number 1, the number 2, and then we've got 2 number 3s. And so I like to, as you can see, this one is like kind of cut up a little bit. I like to keep the same one on the bottom and then use the other one on the top. So this one will stay nice. And then when this one gets too eaten up or too warped, then I can just kind of swap them out. And then I've always got kind of one nice one. Okay, so we're gonna put our paper and our die on here. And we are going to add in our top plate. And again, we're just gonna run it through. So I'm sorry if I shake you a little bit, I apologize. There we go, that's it. All right, so we roll it through. And this is very easy to do. It doesn't take a lot of muscle work. Anyone can do this. I think of any ability or even age. Okay, so we have our die here. I haven't pushed it out of our, I guess, the paper out of the die yet. I wanted to show you another fun technique for a label. So what I'm going to pull out here is my Take a Pick tool. Your Take a Pick tool comes with a few different ends that you can choose. So one of them is a putty end, and this is used to like pick stuff up, and we'll use that later. Well, actually, we're not going to do that today. For picking up embellishments and little pieces of paper, etc. It also comes with a tip that has a little ball stylus on it. We're going to use that one today. It comes with a couple other additional tips. One has a pointy end, and you can also get a brush tip for it for detailed dies. But what we're going to do while this is still inside the die is we're going to just kind of find the inside of the die, and we're going to rub our ball tip along the edge and just go back and forth. And you might kind of go off track a little bit, but when you go back, it's going to kind of straighten out. Take your time. We're going to just follow this around all the way around the die, and just until we're kind of happy with it. And what we're doing here is we're creating a beautiful bevel on our die. So in addition to the details that we have, we're creating a bevel that's going to kind of help our sentiment to stand out, and also give it a little bit of character. So I don't know if you can see that there with the beveled edges on it. I'm trying to see myself in the camera, but I don't know. So it just has a beveled edge on there, and it's just really pretty. Okay, so I think just to do something a little bit different, actually maybe not. I'm going to grab my cherry cobbler ink, and you just lift them up like a makeup palette or a compact and flip it around. And I'm going to use this sentiment here that says joyous. We're going to tap, 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 and then we're going to just kind of, and again, because my head's not right over, may not get this exactly right. We're going to get joyous just like that. All right. That's literally all the stamping we have to do. Can you believe that? Okay, let's put our card together. So we've got our card base. We are going to attach some ribbon to this. Now, story here. I had to hide my ribbon, so I got to get that out now. Hopefully I remember where I put it. Because I have a cat who got into the ribbon this week. Honestly, where did I put that? And he decided that he wanted to eat the ribbon, because why not? He's a cat. And he got himself very, very sick. So it was not a fun day of me following him around, cleaning up after my sick cat. Oh, it's right here in the front. Can't see it for the life of me. So following around, cleaning up after my sick cat, it was like the least fun. And the poor guy was so sick, and just, yeah, it wasn't well. And I know that cats swallowing a ribbon and string can actually be fatal for them. So I was actually quite scared for him, because he was just not doing well. So note to self, he actually put his paw, it was a closed drawer on my craft cupboard, and he actually got his paw in through, there's an opening of like a pull where you open the drawer, and he stuck his arm in there and pulled out the ribbon himself. So, I mean, he did it to himself, but regardless, I have now since moved it out of as far back as I possibly can and covered it with a big piece of cardstock, hoping that he's not going to be able to get it, but I am keeping my eye on that for sure. So all that I did, as you see, I wrapped it around this piece that I'm going to put onto my card base before I put it on top. And then I just tied a knot. Because this ribbon is a little bit thicker, if I put a bow on it, it's going to get quite bulky, and it's just kind of hard to send in the mail when it gets a little bit too bulky, and it's also sometimes hard to tie a bow. All right, so this is just an easy way to do that. And then I just kind of keep playing with it till it sort of lays flat. Okay, so let's go ahead and stick this onto our card front. You can just use liquid glue on here, but because it has the ribbon, it's nice to use dimensionals. because it gives a little room for this ribbon to lay flat on the back. So let's go ahead and add some dimensionals. And for those of you that don't know, these are just kind of foam adhesive. So they're little, I don't know if these are octagons or what they are, but anyways, they're little hexagons that are pre-cut out, and they're sticky on both sides. So they stick to your card, and they have little paper on the back that you just pull off, and they stick it to your card, and it adds a little bit of dimension or lift to your card, which I think really takes your card from being simple to being kind of outstanding. It's just such a simple way to add sort of that extra touch to your cards. Now we're going to do the same thing here with our sentiment. I'm going to add just a couple of dimensionals onto the back. If you find that this isn't laying down the way that you want to, you could use a dimensional behind there, or even a mini glue dot just to hold down the knot, and then you can kind of put it in place. But I'm really happy with how it's working out. So this, last time I put it up here, I think I still will, or maybe over here. I'll just put it in the same spot. And this really is a pretty simple card. So then we've got that. Now inside, because it's dark, we need a layer. And again, I'm going to use my liquid Tombow glue here. This is just kind of all-purpose glue. And dries really strong, but it gives you a little bit of time to wiggle it around. So it's really my glue of choice when I'm crafting. So that if I don't get it right immediately, I've got a few seconds to move things. So there we go. We've got this white inside so we can write or stamp. And we've got a beautiful Christmas card. So super easy. You could like create a whole bunch of these without too much effort. Again, we're using Cherry Cobbler and Basic Beige are the colors that we're using here today. And I used Old Olive and Mossy Meadow green ink. So those are the colors, very traditional here. But let me show you a couple other of techniques. We're not going to make the whole cards today together, but I do want to show you a couple of techniques. So this is the one that I took a picture of previously. Set that aside for a second. Okay. All right. So another thing that you can do with your embossing folder, and I should have grabbed some wipes. These are a great tool to have in your craft room, by the way. They're just good for cleaning everything. But if you have water-based markers, you can actually color on your embossing folders with your water-based markers, and we're going to do some water painting. So you want to get these kind of into the groovy part. So into like kind of these little nooks and crannies, you want to get your marker into there. And I'm just going to kind of do part of this and give you the idea of what it looks like. You could color the background, but I'm going to show you what that looks like a little bit later as well. So you're going to try to just get into these little grooves. And again, you could use one color here I've got. Again, actually this one is, I think, Granny Apple Green. So it's a brighter green than the cards we used on the other one, or colors that we used. And we're just going to go in here and we're really just going to color. It doesn't matter if it's perfect. And I'm just going to do one tree just for time's sake, but you could color as much or as little as you want. And then again, you could add a second color. This one I should have probably used first. This is a lighter color. But again, I'm just going to kind of, I might just put this around the tree a little bit, add a little bit of green in there. Just in the spaces that I kind of missed, fill it in with a second color. And that would be a great way to add some shading in there as well. You could use a brown if you wanted a few spots where it looked like it had a trunk, for example. Okay, now I'm just going to get some paper because I had cut a few pieces here. And we're just going to take a scrap piece of paper and we are going to emboss it. But the first thing we need is a little bit of water. So these are spritzers. They come in a pack of 3 and they're Stampin' spritzers and they're just really nice. So I'm going to just maybe take this off camera for a second. And I'm just going to, because I don't want to get everything all wet here. Well, whatever, we'll get it wet. And you're just going to kind of give it a little spritz. These things are really a fine spritz. So I'm going to give it a couple spritzes only. And then we're going to stick our paper on again. We're going to close it up and we're going to run it through our machine. Okay, getting back out our embossing folders. Again, we've got our number 1. You guys are going to know how to use this thing like in your sleep after today. We're going to put on number 4, and we're going to just run this through like this. Okay. Just like so. And sorry for the shaking again. But then when you take this out, what you're left with is a little bit of a watercolored look. Now, if we had more green on here, we would have done a better job. But let me show you kind of what the finished card looked like. And that was what I used on this card. So you can see we've got the green. I used a basic beige on here. On the one that I just showed you, we used white. So we used white, and we've got kind of a, just some watercolored look on there. And so it's just kind of a finer, softer kind of look. Again, this is a brighter green. And then what I did here, I did a little bit of stenciling in the back, added some of our glimmer paper for snow, and used these beautiful pearlized enamel effects. This is part of the basic set, and just dabbed on these little red dots. So that's what that is here. So we've got Pretty Peacock and a real red, sort of as our color scope here. And I did cut around the trees, just for something a little bit different. But again, you could just make one like this and create this exact same card. So whatever, it would just look a little bit different. So another technique for you using your markers. All right, let's do one more technique. And you guys haven't even seen this card yet. So this is going to be a surprise. And I am just going to give this a little bit of a wipe first. And I'm going to spray it because my wipes actually aren't even wet anymore. They're all dried out. So let's just wet this and then give it a wipe. Okay, and you can just run this under tap water too. Use just some hand soap on it if you need to give it a good cleaning. But there we go. All right. So what we're going to do here now is I'm going to show you a third way you can use your embossing folder. All right, so what we're going to do is I am going to take actually a blue ink pad now. I'm going to use boho blue, and you'll understand this in a minute, but you could really use whichever color you wanted to. And I am going to take this and I'm just going to add this color to, again, the front of my embossing folder. Okay, so this is the side. It's going to, the back part here is going to push into this front part and push the paper through. So everything that kind of goes into the indents is going to kind of come out white, and the background is going to be blue. So in this case, because that's the color we're using. Okay, so we've got lots of ink on here. And because I sprayed it, it's kind of balling up a little bit with the water, but it will work. Okay, so let's take another piece of paper here. And I'm just going to stick this on here like so. We're going to close our embossing folder. Bring our machine back out. And so when you put it in, try to put the seam side into your machine first rather than the open end. It'll just go through your machine a lot easier. Okay, so we're going to just get this going. And again, sorry for the shake. All right. Let's move our machine out of the way here. And now we've got our embossing folder. And when we take out our paper, it is going to look like this. So this one is really inky, but the background is all blue. And once the ink dries a little bit, it's going to be a little bit lighter. It's just because I sprayed it with water, so it's actually a little bit wet, which normally wouldn't happen because we wouldn't be spritzing it. But what I made out of that background is this beautiful card. So the background is just that boho blue, and I put it onto some some basic gray cardstock. I was trying to think of the color, with a coordinating ribbon. And I did that exact same technique on the label where we used our Take a Pick stylus with the ball tip and made this into a beveled end. So here I just used Merry Christmas, added 3 little red gems with a holly to finish it off. And I did that for you, Marlissa. Marlissa said she really liked blue and red, so I had to make sure there was some red on the blue card. So this one was for you. So there you have it. We have 3 different techniques or ideas that you can use with your embossing folder. So 3 different ways to use your embossing folder apart from just using it to emboss the background. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you have some new ideas for yourself this holidays. You can again use this on any different type of embossing folder, not just the trees, but this is a fantastic way to kind of see it in action. So anyways, I hope you've enjoyed your evening. Thank you for joining me again. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. And again, today is the last day for the stamp sale. So all stamps in our annual catalog are 15% off until the end of today, 11:59 tonight. And the link for shopping is in the comments. And also just a reminder about the Cards, Coffee, and Christmas Cheer event. So this event is November 1st, Friday evening. It'll be here in Medicine Hat, and there is still space for you to sign up. So there's a link as well in the comments. But if you have any questions, just give me a shout. I'm happy to help. Happy to help is what I'm trying to say. So anyways, Merry Christmas. Bye.